Welcome to the Brothers and Friends podcast show. What's up, everybody? We are finishing up last week's interview that we had, interviewing for mental health awareness. So we're going to get right back into it. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Yeah, I think like you both mentioned, that work-life balance is key.
Mm,
But speaking as a parent, my mental health, physical health, financial health, all revolves around my kids. And
mm,
so, my questions are going to be revolving around child psychology and
mm,
adolescent psychology. So,
mhm,
we recently took our kid, our 8-year-old, to see the Michael Jackson movie, and we're raising our kids in different than how I was raised. I'm from the
mm.
generation where uh, you know whoopings, spankings were a regular thing. Where
Mhm.
if you know you heard your grandma or mama say, get me the Switch, they weren't talking about the Nintendo Switch, and
Not at
so
all. Yeah.
so when we took our son to see Michael Jackson, the Michael Jackson movie, we had to prepare him like, a big part of Michael Jackson's life was the
Mm,
physical and verbal abuse that he suffered
yeah.
from his father. And
Yeah.
so my question there's no right and wrong parenting style, but there's a modern concept of gentle parenting. And do
Mm,
you consider that, sparing, with the say, like, spare a rod, spoil a child? Do you consider that gentle parenting, or do you consider the other parenting styles like permissive parenting or authoritative parenting? Any pros and cons to any of those parenting styles?
so this is a great question. Great question. And, and by the way, that spread the rod spoil the child. That is a derivative statement that is based on a biblical scripture and it is taken out of context. I'm just gonna throw that out here. So I think that okay, um, each child is different and each child requires something different. There are some children that you say, "Hey, let's sit down and play a game," and don't throw your clothes all over your the living room. And they're going to sit down. They're going to put them clothes in the appropriate space, and you ain't gonna have to hardly say anything to them. Then there's that other child. You say, "Sit down and play this game, and don't throw your clothes all over the place." You come back in the room, them clothes are in places you didn't think they could be, right? So I think that for our parents, um, knowing your child's temperament, knowing your child's personality, they are little people, and I think it's easy to forget that because a lot of our older generations, it feels like they didn't look at us like little people. They just was like, you the child, and you about to stay in the child's place. Well, what is my place? Because I haven't learned that yet. So teach me, show me what does that look like, right? So I think that with this concept of gentle parenting, I'm gonna specify that. Um, why not? I think gentle parenting is good because I think a lot of times having those spaces where you're explaining things like, hey, if we run out into the street, we run the risk of getting hit by a car. We don't want you to get hit. We want you to be safe. So come on, let's walk over here on the sidewalk and even turn it into a little game or whatever, right? I think that sounds pretty gentle to me. But then if you have that child, again, knowing your child, if that is the child that's going to try to race the car in the street, you might have to raise your voice. Hey, you need to stand over here. Don't walk over there right now, okay? And if you do that, then hey, you ain't getting them brownies you want for dessert tonight.
Yeah.
So I do, and I'll say this too, and then I'll be quiet. I think that there are some individuals that don't know boundaries. They don't know boundaries, right? So they may want to gentle parent, but that more authoritative Joe Jackson type of parenting kind of results because maybe they're going through stress in their world.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to figure out, hey, these bills are piling up. Man, this refrigerator is emptying out, and here go these kids trying to run out in the street. They all getting beat. No, that needs to be managed internally first. Then talk with those kids, like, hey, look, I don't know. I'm a fan of telling kids, like, hey, let me keep it real with age appropriately. Hey, this is going on in the household. You doing this thing is causing that's causing me to be upset. So, hey, let's figure out, this ain't your responsibility to solve this, but hey, can you clean up your room a little bit better? You know, what can we work together on cleaning up your room? Because mom or dad or whoever, I don't want to yell at you. I don't want to be mean to you, right? So, picking your approach that works best for you and your child.
Right.
So,
and I think even to Brandon's point about like some transparency, and being, of course, it being age appropriate is okay. Think about how beneficial it would have been
Man.
during our childhood if we knew, when I do this, it doesn't make them happy, right? As opposed to rah 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 rah. Having a conversation, communication, it spans over a lot of different things. Healthy communication, effective communication. But if you guys caught it when he talked about the child running in the street, the first scenario, his voice was a little more baseline. Then it was a little more stern, right? It was out of necessity, right? And so, but the other thing that he did was he implemented a consequence, right? There's a reward that is an option, but then there is a consequence, meaning you won't get dessert if everybody else is having it, right? I am a huge proponent of consequences and rewards.
Yes.
And sometimes the reward is no consequence. And a lot of times parents don't think that, and they're thinking, well, I don't want to do da 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 da. Well, if you don't implement small consequences and even small rewards, they won't recognize them, when they won't respect boundaries the older that they get. And so you will be receiving phone calls about behavior. You unfortunately may be visiting them in a juvenile detention center. You may be, experiencing issues with other parents where there's a fight or something. There are a number of things that can happen when we don't, I guess, start to slow down and pay attention to what the child needs. And to Brandon's point, do an assessment before you talk to them. Take a break. Take a 5-10 minute break before you even address an issue that is going on with your child. Make sure you're in a good space, in a healthier space to address it, so you're not projecting the issues of your day onto them on top of everything else. I got to deal with this.
Right.
Well, I don't have nothing to do with your issue at work. I just didn't turn in my homework.
Right.
And if we're honest, sometimes children are impacted by what is going on in the home. Maybe they forgot because they were up hearing you argue, right? They were consumed with the thing, and they were working on it, at their desk or in their room, and then they forgot to put it in their backpack because they were just consumed with thoughts about what's happening, right? So sometimes it warrants having a conversation. And the other thing that I will say is, regarding parenting, there has to be a balance. There is a spectrum. You mentioned gentle, passive, and authoritative. It depends on the age, it depends on the scenario, and it depends on the child, right? And this is where your village is helpful.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you know you're having a stressful week, a stressful month, whatever, reach out to your village. Figure out if there's a way for you to share the load with people in your village. Maybe it means other parents. Right. You're at the park with other parents and you take a 15-minute break. Right. You sit in the car and read a book. You sit in the car and listen to some music or something. You take a walk around the park. And maybe you rotate. Okay, my 15 minutes are up. Thanks, girl. And then that person is able to do the same thing. Right. Figure out a way to work within your community. Right. And you were going to the park anyway. So it doesn't really cost you anything extra, except with a little bit of vulnerability and communication. Yep. So,
yeah. Man, y'all preaching, because that
question, Chris, actually pertains to me. I'm still learning and growing in this topic right here because I grew up in the because I said so generation, and I'm not one of your little friends. I'm
Right,
mom and dad.
right,
So, and then
right.
I found myself doing that with my sons. I got two boys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
18 and 13. So
yeah.
it was like, okay,
Hmm.
they grew up in a different generation than me.
Right,
I
right.
even have what I consider what I call a pandemic baby.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So whereas we went outside, we played this, that, and the other. Well, with
Yeah.
him, I remember I told him, I said, boys, why don't y'all go outside and play? Y'all got the day off and this, that, and the other. And they said, Dad, play what? And I'm like,
Mm.
play.
Hmm.
You
Man.
created in this, and I literally had to go outside and show them,
Yes.
like,
Woo.
Yeah.
how to use imagination and stuff. And it was different for me,
But
Yeah.
but
because
even
go ahead, yeah.
I was gonna say kudos to you for showing, right?
Yes.
For showing because we live in. I said it the other day. I'm like, we live in a digital age, but we
Mhm.
are analog beings.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's like, man, it's like everything doesn't have to be on the screen, or
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like you manipulating it. You can
Sure.
go out and use your imagination,
Sure.
man. Oh my god. So
Yeah.
yeah, look, I can speak on
That
this,
is
but
huge.
oh man, yeah. Oh man. I was gonna say something. Here, and I'm gonna say this other thing about parenting. That this is a real life circumstance. I literally was with a client last week, 17-year-old young man. I'm talking with him, and I'm like, I'm talking, and then I was like, man, what you think?
Mhm.
And when I asked that question, and that this was not the first time, I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, what do you mean? I kind of was like, er? I'm like, hey, I just said a lot of things, right, in
Mhm.
reference to this particular subject we're talking about.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Yep.
And then he literally was like, blank stare. I'm
Mhm.
like, you're not used to anybody asking you what you think, are you?
Mhm.
He was like, nope. I
Mhm.
said, wow, 17 years.
Mhm.
17 years. So
Mhm.
Wow.
I make an extra effort with him now to, what do you think? Talk
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
me, break it down.
Mhm.
Say it dirty, we'll clean it up later.
Mhm.
But just say it.
Mhm.
And
So
that's one of the things I had to learn too, is to be able to allow them the space to say it dirty. Because I could never with my parents, right?
Mhm.
I had to watch it the way I said it, and if I said it. But
yeah,
my
yeah,
sons now have this freedom that I didn't, and it's weird to me. So I have
yeah.
to bite my tongue sometimes and go, okay, but it's
Mm,
genuine what they're telling me, so
mm.
Sure.
I can
Yeah.
then process it and say,
Yep.
okay, let's go ahead and clean it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is how we go
Yeah.
in and clean this thing up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
that's good.
That's so good to hear
Man.
that you're actively meeting them where they are
Yes.
and you're giving them space to say it dirty and then as a father clean it
Mhm.
up. Just like if they were much younger and they
Right.
spilled something, right? You
Hmm.
expect them to make a mess when they're first learning how to eat. And
Right.
then you clean it up as a parent, right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
the same thing. And even as far as I'm not one of your friends, well, if you consider you have to officially parent them by law for 18 years. But what about the rest of their life? Don't you want to be friendly? Don't you want to have a
Man.
Right.
connection? Don't
Right.
you want to be a person that they call when life is whatever,
Right.
whether it's good, bad,
Right.
whatever? Don't you want to have a relationship
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like you do with your friends? And there are levels and there are degrees of relationships and of course respect.
Mm.
But the fact of the matter is they're in your house for a very short period of their lifetime. And if you're able to shape and mold them and pour into them everything that they need to be responsible and respectful adults, isn't that somebody you want as your friend? And they might just so happen to look like you. That's a benefit, right? And you can coach them with things that are big, small. What seasoning do I put in such and such? Hey, I want to buy a car. Hey, when did you buy your house? What does that look like? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Yep.
so I think it's really important to be intentional to create opportunities to pour into them and shape them, mold them, if you will, but also to give them freedom to fly.
Yeah.
They have a makeup that is different than yours. They are a completely different person. And so there are going to be some similarities, but there are going to be a vast number of differences because their day, once y'all say goodbye to them, they see different people, just like you see different people. They are becoming different versions of themselves every day, just like you are.
Yes.
So giving them space to talk to you when things are going on. One of the things we like to highlight is the opportunity for highs and lows.
Yeah.
What was the best part of your day? What was the not so great part of your day? And do not, this is one of the biggest things that happens with working with kiddos for us. Don't stop at how was your day? Fine. Don't stop there. Well, why was it fine?
Yep.
What was great about it? What was not so great about it?
Yep.
Keep asking questions. And what will happen is, I have found when they first come in, they try to give me one-liners, right? They know I'm not going to stop at just the one-liner. So what do? They end up sharing more. And I end up getting a whole sentence out of them. I end up getting a lot of insight. And it's like, yeah, that same girl. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So have you talked to your mom or your dad about that? No, because well, why not? And it gives opportunity
Right.
to have the parent come in and be aware of what they're talking about in therapy. And so I don't want to get too far going, but the fact of the matter is we have opportunities as parents and people in the village to help them, one, with consistency. That's another word that we haven't said. Consistency in parenting. If you're consistent, they know what the rules are, and you stick to it, they know what to expect. And eventually they'll realize the benefit of it. Okay, I'm done. I'm really passionate about marriage and family. So.
That's good. That's good stuff.
Man,
Well, we
appreciate
are, I
that.
should say.
So my other question revolves around kind of your process and how to pre-screen your clients. So I recently read an article about the adverse childhood experience test. And for those who don't know about it, it's basically a 10-question screener that asks, clients about their experiences during childhood, about abuse, neglect, household dysfunction. And I took the test, and I was pretty low on the screener. But my question is how do you? Well, first, do you utilize like a screener like adverse childhood experience test, and if you do, like, how do you kind of navigate that conversation if someone has a high score, that's scoring high on that trauma test, to make them feel like that it's not daunting, it's not the end of the world, that it's more hopeful rather than discouraging.
Right. That's a good question. So kind of a two-parter, so to speak. So the first thing, when I started out in the field, it was customary to go through the ACEs, because a lot of practices and or organizations, they use that tool for that very reason, to kind of assess childhood trauma. We don't currently use it right now, but the way our intake is set up, it's incorporated in there. It's like, hey, tell us about your early years. Tell us about your family structure. Tell us about any trauma experiences. And then during that intake process, you start asking those probing questions. And it's like, well, hey, tell me about any significant events that happened in your childhood. Any events of physical illness, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, all of those things. Tell me about what's happened to you. So that's that question. Tell me about it, right? And then sometimes, even before you get to that, the client will start speaking about certain things. And it's like, well, tell me more, right? So it becomes this whole process of client shares, we hear, we ask more questions, and then it's like, and for me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is the intake today. note. I'm making a note of this, but we're gonna circle back around to this because
Mhm.
this seems like this is really still impacting you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we never, or I don't want to say never. We do our very very best to not kind of let those things just kind of hang out there, because it's
Mhm.
like if this person is sharing this and possibly for the very first time ever
Mhm.
to somebody else,
Yeah.
if they're sharing this, it's like note to self,
Sure.
we got to come back to this.
Sure.
I literally literally met with a new client on Friday, and this young man, early 20s, he's like, yeah, this and this with my mom.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay. So the fact that you're highlighting this, and this with your mom, this is one of the first things that I would like to unpack with you, because this sounds like this may be a key, or so to speak,
Mhm.
to what's currently going on with you right now,
Sure.
as you're still living with your mom.
Mhm.
So yeah, those aces, they come in handy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll say this too. Sometimes as that therapy process is happening, things are unlocked.
Yep. For
So it's
sure.
like we may not,
For
it
sure.
may not come out in the intake, but it's
Yep.
like, oh man, I remember when.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
So we have more conversation. Excuse me, more conversation about it. So yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so Brandon mentioned that our intake process is pretty thorough. One of the things we have on there is like a developmental history. So it talks about like, did you feel left alone a lot? Like, were
Mm-hmm.
you unhappy as a child?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it kind of asks like very detailed questions. And so if someone doesn't check off emotional or verbal abuse, but they check off a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
you probably may have experienced emotional abuse. And because they don't associate what they experience with abuse,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just think it's them. And so sometimes being able to help them make the correlation, it sounds like you experienced a lot, and that sounds like neglect, which is a form of abuse, right?
Yep.
And so kind of helping them, I guess, connect the dots of, oh, I do check the box of abuse. Oh, that explains why what I experienced at 7,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of showed up again at 17 at school, and then at 27 at my new job, and then at 37 in my marriage, and 47 with a grandchild, whatever the situation is. Yeah, and it helps them really, to Brandon's point, it helps them unlock some things like, oh wow, who knew that what I did or didn't get in my childhood affected me so much? I just kept sweeping it under the rug because I was told we don't talk about that, and all you need to do is pray about it, right? And sometimes the Lord will tell you to go to therapy. Sometimes the Lord will tell you to journal. He will tell you to incorporate some things that will help you alleviate stress. And therapy isn't the only answer. Let's be clear, it's not. But it is very helpful. And sometimes in therapy, you can receive tools.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can receive tools that will help you learn how to navigate and reduce your stress as an
Yep.
individual.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Well, so first of all, thanks both of y'all for coming on with us today.
No problem.
Taking the hour or however long this show's gonna last, taking your time out to be here with us. We really appreciate it. Appreciate the answers. It's been really great, really eye opening for me. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
I am going to throw a wrench into the plan just a little bit. I want to ask a question that wasn't sent to you,
Okay.
Okay.
if that's okay. So, because nobody don't know about this question,
Mhm.
what do grief therapy mostly look like? And how do one person find like I guess a grief therapist? Like, what should they what should they be really like looking for when they searching for a therapy when they're going through a grief?
Mhm. Great question. Great question. So grief is I, I will say this. Most therapists, and I say most, quote unquote, will know how to address grief. But there are some therapists that specialize, which is, I don't think that's something that we've talked about much here tonight, but there are some therapists that specialize in grief. There are sex therapists that specialize in sexual issues. There are trauma specialists. They use practices like EDMR. Excuse me. EDMR. It's a practice that helps you to really process through advanced trauma experiences. So, with that being said, I think that really like, and then, okay, I'll throw this out. And then there's a therapist such as myself who has I went through grief recovery training, and grief recovery training, I couple that with my therapy, and I walk clients through an actual process where we go through and we highlight, hey, what are all the losses you've had in your life? Okay, these are all the losses, but this one is the one that you can't seem to recover from. Okay, let's walk through these steps, and then after we've done that, then we can lean back into our traditional therapy tools, if you will. So it varies person to person. But again, some individuals have specialty training on managing grief. So
for sure. But to Brandon's point, his initial point, many therapists are qualified to walk with someone that has experienced a recent loss, and just supporting them and letting them share their thoughts and feelings about the person, about the process of loss, about the dynamics of the family now, and or the friend group, whatever. It really is helpful to kind of just sit and talk about it, and also to develop tools and or to talk about different ways that they can remember the person. Memory box is very helpful, I found, especially with kiddos. But in general, just finding something or having some things in place where you're able to kind of, I guess, pull from, and working through the loss. So
thank you so much for that. Again, I knew that was a question that wasn't prepared
absolutely.
question. So I appreciate you answering. But just jumping back on track though. This is following up with what Chris saying. This time sticking it with the family and marriages. So one of my questions I wanted to ask was financial strain is widely recognized as one of the leading contributors to divorce. In your experience, what would you identify as the next most common factor affecting marriages? And how can therapy help couples address and prevent that issue?
Oh Lord. So couples is a newer lane for me. And it is intriguing and sometimes very frustrating, but I'm getting used to it. One of the things I can highlight that beyond finances, and I think I actually want to bump this above finances, is communication. Because a lot of times, even if finances are an issue, if the couple can communicate about it, it can be managed. So I think communication kind of goes up on top, right? Because a lot of times, and we've kind of said it throughout our dialogue, we talked about a tool kit, we talked about tools singularly, but a lot of us, we were not appropriately given effective tools to communicate with one another. And it started in the house, and then it transitioned to the school, then it transitioned to our first relationships, and then it migrates all the way to our marriages. So we're not given those tools. So I think some of us, we get married and it's like, wait a minute, you like oranges and I like apples, so we just ain't gonna eat no fruit. That's not true. We can have apples and oranges. Actually, we can alternate days. On Monday we can have apples. On Wednesdays we can have oranges. That doesn't mean we just don't eat any fruit. And so I think a lot of times the couples that we've experienced, they like, we can't eat no fruit, and it's like, but why? Or maybe the compromise is eating grapes. Do y'all both like grapes? Because if you like apples and you like oranges, but y'all can't agree which day to eat them, well, maybe you eat grapes, and maybe that's the thing that helps right there. So
Just
so yeah,
both angry,
so I
just
think
both angry eating grapes like.
Yeah, for sure. So communication is one, and one of the biggest things for us with communication is the HALT
yeah.
concept. I love sharing this with people. So HALT stands for, the H stands for hungry, and then A for angry, L for lonely, and then T for tired, right? So if a person is experiencing any of these things, and I'll put this caveat out here because, or add this, most of them are kind of self-explanatory, but lonely. For some people, lonely looks like I need to connect with my friends, or I need to connect with myself. I need some self-care time. I need to decompress, right? And so, as people that are in marriages, it's helpful if you can, one, communicate for yourself. Hey, I need a break, right? Hey, I need a snack. I feel like I'm hangry, or hey, I'm upset because blah 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 blah, right?
Or I'm tired.
Right.
I'm exhausted, so I'm coming across as crabby.
And sometimes all we can experience all four of them, right? And it's a huge, I was gonna say trifecta, but it's more than that. So then also what can happen is, as a partner, hey, I know you didn't really sleep well. Do you need to go take a break before we meet with these people, right? And share our thoughts and feelings about the questions that they have. Hey, I know that you're concerned about such and such. Do you need to go have a conversation, or like go have coffee or tea with this particular family member or loved one? I got it. I got the home front. Go ahead and take some time for yourself. And I think it's really helpful to highlight the opportunity for communication. One is a person who needs something and or is experiencing something, and the person that is witnessing it. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of it, and with our culture, we can be so busy being resilient and just pushing forward, we don't even realize that we're experiencing the things. And sometimes it's helpful for someone to see it and say, hey,
Yeah.
do you can I help? Hey,
Right.
do you need or want something? Or even apologizing if you know they're angry about something and you've had some time and space. Sometimes it's okay to initiate the apology. It's gonna happen at some point. You might as well just get it over with, right? I say that as being the only woman on the call. But yeah, and then I guess sex is a big problem in some relationships, and communication about that is often pivotal too.
Yeah.
You want to share more about that?
Yeah. Like um, so there's this concept we use with couples. It's like, you're telling me about all the issues, right? You're telling me you don't agree. Again, you want to eat apples, you want to eat oranges, you can't agree upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, wait a minute. What do you agree on? Well, we know we both like fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's start there again.
Right.
Can we? If it's not grapes, then do we want to get some cherries? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And then when it comes to sex, well, do you want chocolate covered cherries with whipped cream?
My God. Okay, we're going there.
Is that what you like? Okay, you want. Well, what kind of chocolate do you like? Dubai chocolate or dark chocolate, milk
Let's
chocolate?
get it. Yeah, right.
I'm
fully
so done.
engaged now. Yeah, let's get it.
What kind of chocolate do you like?
Right.
So, because I will go make a Kroger one real quick, and then we can get it popping. So, I think it's just having those, again, boil down
for
to
sure.
communication
Yeah.
and understanding, and also I think so. So part of communication is listening.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we talk about with individuals and couples is the concept of 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Mm-hmm.
If you can manage that, 2 ears and 1 mouth,
Mm-hmm.
it's classically said that God gave us those things in that order for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can manage that, then I believe we can get over a lot of hurdles. So
For sure.
yeah, so it's even in marriage.
And one of the things I'll add, specifically pertaining to sex, sometimes yes, one person literally, I've only had apples, or I've never had any type of fruit. I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Mhm.
It is really important to be open Have open communication. Like, be willing to sit with the person and hear their story. If in a lot of situations one person has had more experience than the other, okay, what does that look like, right? And so if one person has never had apples or never had oranges before, maybe incorporate a green, red, a red flashlight scenario. So red light, yellow light, green light. I am okay with this. I am cautious about this. Kind of open, maybe, and absolutely not, right? Well, if the other person is like, absolutely yes, how can we kind of meet in the middle? Let's have some more conversation. Maybe let's talk to a sex therapist. Let's read a book pertaining to this particular thing, or get a sex book and read about it. Let's maybe, talk to some people that we know and trust. Hey, how have y'all navigated, sex differences, whatever that looks like, right? And I think it's important, as far as, since we're on the topic of bringing people in, both people have to be in agreement on it. It can't just be one person saying, well, I'm gonna add so and so. No, because I don't want so and so in my business.
Right.
I'm okay with this particular couple, us talking to them about it. It has to be there has to be trust and
Yep.
and transparency and vulnerability. And if that's not the case, then it's not going to yield fruit. So avoid that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, I do definitely agree that communication is really a big contributor to divorce, marriage failing, bad communication. So, which leads me to my next question. Do you believe that there are situations where a marriage truly cannot be repaired? And what indicators or patterns suggest that relationship has reached that point that they can't fix it?
Yeah. That's a big question. And I would say there are few circumstances where a marriage cannot be repaired. And I say few, and I mean if there is imminent danger, if the person is abusive, and even to the point of instances, like ongoing instances of harm, then I think that's a excellent place to say, hey, I can't stay in this, right? If a person is overtly emotionally abusive, I don't think anybody should have to stay in that, right?
Yeah.
Then I've heard it said like this too: if a person is abandoned in their marriage, if their spouse leaves and or decides to leave, whatever that circumstance is, I think that is that's an acceptable
Sure.
place to say, hey, do I or can I stay in this, right? That has to be a really distinct evaluation. Besides those three extremes, I think that all marriages can be repaired. It's going to take some time. It's going to take either the couples therapy, individual therapy, or a combination of both. I'm a firm believer in involving your faith body in your journey in your marriage. I think that's essential.
Yeah.
So I think like with anything else, if we want to see change happen, we're going to have to do some things to change.
Yeah.
And the one thing I think, even through all what we have said tonight, this word that has not been said is easy. None of this is easy. None of it is easy. And I think the thing about marriage is you make a covenant and you say, I do. And I tell people fairly frequently, I'm like, hey, when you take those vows, like, you better know what you're saying. You better really understand what you're saying in front of that altar, at the courthouse, in on the beach, wherever you get married. You better know what those vows mean, because once you say them, you're going to be held to them. So tread lightly.
Sure. So one of the things, we didn't talk about this earlier when we were reviewing the questions, but one of the things I thought about as he was talking was, someone, if there's chronic cheating,
Oh yeah.
that's a form of emotional abuse,
Yes.
right? gaslighting the person like, oh, it's not that. No, it is. But then I think also sometimes different forms of financial abuse.
Yes.
Anytime there
Yes.
is abuse, right?
Yes.
If it is even substance abuse,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If someone is using substance abuse and that affects your family financially, that may be some grounds for separation. And I think depending on the type of abuse, sometimes it warrants separation, sometimes it warrants therapy, and sometimes it warrants divorce.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to highlight being intentional about your why.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why am I trying to stay in this, or why am I trying to get out of this?
Yes.
Am I unhappy within this marriage because I'm really unhappy with myself? Did I marry them thinking that I was gonna be able to fix them, or they were gonna help heal me because they're so great?
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
Yeah.
And so and it's not actually beneficial. And so I think it's really important to really do your work as a single.
Yes.
We're talking about marriages, but as a single person, Brandon and I, we're new in our marriage. We haven't even hit 3 years. We both did our work. And don't get me wrong, we experienced stuff even within our marriage as therapists, as people that are older.
Yes.
We got married in our 40s. So what? We are still human beings trying to figure out how to become one.
Yes.
It is an active act.
Yes.
It does not happen at the altar. It does not happen on the beach. It does not happen at the courthouse. It just doesn't. It is something that happens over time. It is something that happens over time. Yeah. And so that is one of the reasons why we highly recommend for people to get in community with people that they have things in common with.
Yes.
And you can kind of understand, oh, I'm not alone in this. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm getting off track, but the fact of the matter is there's hope for more marriages than people realize.
Right. And divorce is not a what's the word I'm looking for? Divorce is not a like oh my God, I'm losing my word here. Divorce doesn't have to be the ultimate like kind of result. It doesn't have to be that. The solution. Thank you. Divorce is not the solution because, again, unless there are extremes in place, most likely you can work through it, but that willingness has to be there.
Absolutely.
That willingness. And I'm saying that as a person that's divorced myself. I know that in my circumstance, my ex-person was not willing to do the work. And there were other influences that kind of led to that. So I've seen it from kind of both sides. So so that willingness has to be there. But when that willingness is there, man, it's beautiful because even if there's a separation, like separation is meant, in my opinion, separation is meant for both people to work on the issues.
Yes. Not
necessarily date other people. Not necessarily do all the other things, but it's meant to work
run the Kroger, get that chocolate.
Getting chocolates, getting selections. It's meant to work on the issues that have caused the separation. So And
I have worked with couples that are actively in separation, and they're trying to figure out how they can get back together. So it's an option to go to therapy, even if you're separated.
Yep.
Well, I definitely want to thank you guys for, joining us on this show. You dropped a lot of the gems. They call them gems?
A lot of gems.
Yes. So really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Problem, man. Thank y'all.
Yeah, that's been it. It's our show, guys.
All right.
Awesome. Peace.
All right, see y'all.
That one for y'all. That was for them.
Thank you so much for listening to the Brothers of France podcast. Do you want to chime in on this week's topic? Well, leave us a comment for us to discuss on a future episode. But in the meantime, please follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Peace.